All right, everybody, we're live. Me and Milton, I mean Mike, are here. We are ready to go. I saw Suicide. Whoa, wow, we're gonna try that one more time. I saw Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, twice now. I almost saw it again live. Saw it again today, but I fell asleep and missed my theater showing. But that's fine. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the Suicide Squad. No relation to the original, despite a few returning characters. So, for this installment, written and directed by James Gunn, the government sends the most dangerous supervillains in the world, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, Harley Quinn, and others, to the remote, enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. Armed with high-tech weapons, they trek through the dangerous jungle on a search and destroy mission with only Colonel Rick Flag on the ground to make them behave. So let's talk about the road leading up to this movie, because it's kind of a fascinating one.
Kinda. Basically, no one even knows what mythical being made the original Suicide Squad film, because it wasn't David Ayer, and apparently it wasn't Warner Brothers. The movie just etherealized into something.
The popular belief is that it was the trailer company that edited footage that James Gunn clearly, or not James Gunn, David Ayer claims to have shot, but yeah, it's obvious the film was ripped away from him.
Yeah.
This movie, on the other hand, this is like, in terms of the creative freedom, this is like the complete opposite.
Yeah, he didn't get told no on anything from what I could tell.
Nope. And for some people, that may be a positive. For others, it may be a negative. At least you can say that this is primarily the work of like one singular vision.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's just like, if you're gonna get James Gunn, the kook that he is, and they're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna give you a film that you can do whatever you want on, and we'll leave you alone, and we won't touch it. You could not get much better of a property than the Suicide Squad.
He has this talent of taking all of these C and D-listers and actually giving them personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By the way, guys, this review is completely spoiler-filled.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. I forgot to put that on there. But yeah, because it's like, for this movie, they went out of their way. They're like, this isn't a reboot. This isn't a sequel. This is just a different movie. Okay. Some of the actors act like they have history, so they act like they've had history in the Squad before, but they're like, that other movie didn't happen. Like Rick and Harley show like they've been friends for years. And I love there's lines in the movie like Boomerang goes to Harley, oh, so you're back in prison. Like in normal things, it's like, oh, Harley's just been in prison before. But in a weird way, that kind of seems like the Suicide Squad movie happened. Then Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey happened, and then she got back in jail, but they're just not acknowledging that the other Suicide Squad film happened outside of she was in jail and might have done stuff with the Suicide Squad before. What is this? But I love also the beginning of this film. It got into the shit a lot faster than I thought I was going to. And I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of people in that film that, unless they go into it, kind of don't make sense for why they're in the jail. And I'm like, look at her. Blackguard, don't know a damn thing about him. Weasel, don't know a damn thing about him. Mongal, I swear, is just a gender swap of Mongol.
Actually, I think that might be his daughter. Let me fact check that.
Daughter? Okay.
And keep going.
Javelin, Didn't care, but I saw that Flula Borg was playing him, which made me very happy. Flula Borg is a YouTube actor that's done a lot of great stuff. If you want a really great set of Flula's personality, go watch his Try Not to Laugh bits with Smosh. It's hilarious. Flula is so freaking funny. And I was just like, okay, cool. These are people that could die later on in the film. Oh, and Savant. And King Shark I knew about, but like Savant was another one I didn't know about. And they're like, cool, all these people could die and no one's going to care. And I'm just like, are they going to give them backstory? No, we're going to kill 90% of the fucking cast in the first 4 minutes of the movie.
Yep. To be fair, he did warn us.
He did.
Now, so I looked up some information on Mongel. She is the sister of Mongol II, who is the son of Mongol I.
Wow, they're creative with names.
Yeah. I mean, there's a character in here called Ratcatcher 2.
I know. I get.
I will get to her in a minute.
That to me is much better of a thing though, because they're just like, they didn't even just call her Ratcatcher. They're just like, no, we're going out of our way to show how stupid it is that you're called Ratcatcher 2. But even like they made a good purpose out of her. Part of me was like, he had a final fight where he had with the villain, and he's like, we're going to take that down. And then part of his mind was like, rats. I bet we could swarm it with rats. But as I was going to say, outside of Harley and Rick, they put Boomer in there, and all of a sudden I was going to be like, yeah, are they going to have conversations about how like they did in the last movie? No, we're just going to kill Boomerang in the first 5 minutes. I was kind of shocked that Michael Rooker only made it like 5 minutes in this movie.
I'm a little
Jam Guns guy.
I'm a little surprised, but also not surprised at the same time, because we haven't really seen him in all of the marketing. Just like, yeah, he's been in all the trailers, but like the scenes that he's in are not with like the rest of the group.
Yep. Love how clear that was after you watch the movie and you go back and you watch the trailers. Like, wow, they showed a lot of them at that prison. Considering they're at that prison for a sum total of like 10 minutes. And that includes the 8-minute talk that fucking Bloodsport has with Waller.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so speaking of Bloodsport, let me ask you, does it feel like Idris Elba's character was supposed to be Deadshot, but because of Will Smith's schedule, they obviously wrote him out?
I don't know, to be honest, because it is weird that they went out of their way to show Deadshot or Bloodsport's daughter, considering that was the big thing for it was a daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the first one where he gets his pardon to spend time with his daughter. But then they do the opposite with the daughter in here. And they're like, no, his daughter fucking hates him. And he's trying his best to stay away from her. I'm like. And it's like, did we ever get a confirmation that Will Smith was going to do it but couldn't?
Honestly, I think the details are a little bit murky.
Okay.
Like I have no idea the exact reason why he couldn't make it. It's disappointing regardless, just because I really liked his version of Deadshot.
Well, so did I.
But that being said, Idris Elba is Idris fucking Elba.
Yeah, and we're gonna go on a bit of a thing here. Will Smith is part of the reason of why I am the way I am. I grew up watching Fresh Prince reruns nonstop. My mom hates the intro to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because her being a loving mother bought me the DVDs of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And like now I am in the room that used to be hers. For people to know, I bought the house that I grew up in. And my room is down the hall. And on those old menus of TV shows, when it would be on the static menu, the theme song would play.
I know where this is going.
My mom would wake up every morning for work to hear dun, 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 dun. She got so sick of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, she like comes out in hives every time the song comes on. But yeah, how I acted, like, and then I was like, man, Will Smith's not going to be in it. I didn't miss Will Smith though. We had Idris Elba. I didn't.
I didn't miss him either. I just had to ask because like they like when this film was casting, they made such a big deal about whether or not he would show up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that is true. I guess that is true, but it's like I think I think part of James was like, you know what? Who do I have an idea who I want to use? And sure, he probably could have used Deadshot, but I think that it got to a certain point of where he's going to pick the ones he wants to use and the ones that he wants to not make it seem like he's making a sequel.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because, like, yeah, Deadshot's close. So we needed a marksman of some kind. But then he's just like, I'm going to dig in the big old bag of unknown people and I'm going to pull out Bloodsport. And I did so. A channel I used to watch quite a bit, but I kind of fell off the face of the earth because I watch a lot of YouTube channels, is Variant Comics.
Yes. I used to be a big fan of that channel, but then also kind of dropped off.
Exactly. So I went back there. I've been watching it recently, and he did a special on Peacemaker and on Bloodsport about their origins and stuff like that. And Bloodsport is weird. Man, Bloodsport is weird. Like, they go through how all this stuff and how, like, he just used to be a radical person. Like, the whole thing about, like, his first interaction is exactly how they say it in there. He shoots a kryptonite needle gun into Superman, and that's his first interaction with any other DC character ever. So that's ripped straight from his origin. But, like, he gets given a thing in a newer run of Suicide Squad where he could teleport in weapons.
Huh. That's
so
new.
he doesn't, like, that freaking whatever the hell you want to call that Lego Mega Builders horseshit that he was pulling off in the movie. He just teleports guns in from all sorts of other places. And so yeah.
Wait a minute. Bloodsport was on Supergirl?
What episode?
It was the episode Girl of Steel. This might have been a couple seasons ago.
It might have been after I dropped off then, because I don't remember Bloodsport being in Supergirl. Unless it was the version of Bloodsport that was like the all guns blazing, bandana, Rambo looking version of him like he used to be.
It's possible. I honestly do not remember.
Okay, his old version of him had a lot to do with, was it the Cold War? No, Vietnam War? One of his brothers died in a war, and then it has different versions of it. But also,
he was a Vietnam draft evader.
Draft evader, yes, thank you. But and then the other one that I got from right after that I watched was Peacemaker, which, if facts are correct, Peacemaker is the first Charlton character to appear in a big budget DC movie.
Oh, yeah. No, he would be.
He would be. That I think is pretty cool.
Because we have seen Blue Beetle in live action, but kind of, sort of, not really. If you remember Smallville.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, that's a big deal.
It really is.
And the fact that I read an interview recently where John Cena was like, James Gunn told him not to read Peacemaker comics. He's like, John Cena was like, I kind of know what you want, this and that. He's like, I'm going to do it, and you tell me. And he gets on screen, he's like, no, absolutely not. That was completely wrong. And John just goes, okay, what were you looking for? And that's where they got like the douchebag Captain America thing. And I'm like, perfect. And then like I'm looking back and reading at people's comments that they think it was accurate. And then they're like, he purposely told John Cena to not read Peacemaker comics because James Gunn had read Peacemaker comics and he knew how to properly convey it, but to make sure someone else understood how to convey it. Because there was a bunch of people that were reading this interview that made the comments. They're like, for a person who told him not to read the things that was going to do his own thing, he ended up acting exactly like the DC version of Peacemaker.
That's amazing.
It's weird. And like, I guess in Charlton comics, for what I was reading, he was a pacifist that made super technology weapons, but would never use them, and thought he would just burst out in hives if he ever wanted to hurt someone. But every now and then, when he thought that there was no other degree of way to go other than violence, he would turn into the Peacemaker put the thing on and do whatever. And like, I guess he talked to himself in his helmet. And he had a jetpack and all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, anyway, we're getting away from the movie. It's really cool that there's a Charlton character in a big budget DC movie, and now he's getting his own HBO Max show. Oh,
more on him later, because
yes.
I have some specific thoughts about Peacemaker in the film.
Yep.
But for now, I kind of hinted at Ratcatcher 2 being the one that stole my heart. But who are some of your favorite characters?
It's King Shark. I can't even tell you.
Hand.
Nom nom? No, that's a no, not nom nom. How will you get through? I will use disguise. What big mustache. It was such a joke, and I'm like, man, they need to tread water because that could get old fast. And then I told people, I'm like, that's Sylvester Stallone being King Shark, and they're like, that's stupid. That's a waste of Sylvester Stallone. I'm like, no, it's not. I bet Sly's having the time of his damn life being this character. And the more
I'm sure he did.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like, oh my gosh. The CGI on King Shark was out of this world.
Yeah,
in this
it looked
movie,
incredible.
period. And everything in this movie. Like Starro, off the charts with how good he looked. But yeah, no, Ratcatcher, obviously. Shockingly enough, I thought just one of the weirdos that James Gunn was putting in the movie for weirdo's sake was Polka Dot Man. And he's one of the most James Gunn wanted to put on TV characters in the world. But before I forget, when you meet Polka Dot Man, I screamed in my theater, not because of Polka Dot Man.
Because of Calendar Man?
Because of Calendar Man! I was like, yes! There's no reason to put that idiot in here! And he even had the Arkham City stupid, date calendar shit on his head. It's like, yes!
And he's played by James's brother.
Really?
Yeah, that's Sean Gunn.
That is Sean. Okay, I guess I just didn't recognize him without his hair. But that's what I was hoping to have in the prison. Just a bunch of not as expensive to make it all people you could recognize. There was a couple in there that, if you looked up, you could finally find. But I was just like, wow, holy shit, did he want to put Calendar Man in this movie? Yeah. Oh, and my roommate, who knows nothing about comics, was like, you got really excited seeing that character of it's fucking Calendar Man. I will explain it to you later. He's like, Calendar Man? I'm like, dude, you just met Ratcatcher 2 and Polka Dot Man. Just go with it. He's like, all right.
Seriously, I love how he had all of these C and D lists, yes, that one over there.
And it's, of course, King Shark, and then right below it, Ratcatcher's also good, but man, I can't even put in the words how happy I was that they cast John Cena as Peacemaker.
He's perfect.
He's perfect. And he wasn't all the way John Cena, but you can tell when he was thinking of Peacemaker, he's like, I'm getting John Cena. It's almost like if you just would look at the perfect version of a soldier, you could see this, and it blew my mind when I thought about it. You look at Chris Evans on the left end of the slider for the good boy in a video game, and on the right end of the slider is the perfect exit opposite. It's John Cena.
Down to everything, the physique, the hair, his very pro-America, the whole, he's got the whole package.
He does. And my roommate, I think his favorite line in the whole film, I'm pretty sure it was in a trailer, but I forgot about it. He's just like, you love peace? I love peace. I love peace more than anything. And I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to achieve that goal. My roommate almost fell out of his theater chair. Oh, it's so good. And we'll get to it in the end. But James Gunn, man, has what might be in the last 5 years my favorite what do I want to say? Set up for a fight scene shot in a movie ever.
Which fight is it?
Rick and Peacemaker. The helmet.
Okay. Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about.
When that started up, both me and my roommate simultaneously went, okay, that's awesome. Oh,
I don't think I've ever seen a fight framed that way before.
that was so creative, and I'm just like, that makes so much sense. I wish that whole scene could have been seen out of the peripherance of that helmet. I was just like, man, keep this going. This is not going to get old. Just keep turning on that helmet. Oh, that was like Edgar Wright levels of awesome usage of camera stuff. And James is so good. He's just so, he's so good. But yeah, let's go through some stuff that we really liked in the movie going forward, because we're kind of bouncing all over the place. But we start out, obviously, TDK, Nathan Fillion. One of the parts I laughed the hardest in is when he pops his arms off and they fly out, and then afterwards when they're taking him down, they're not even shooting TDK, they're just shooting his arms, and Nathan's like affected like he's being riddled with bullets. It's like, your name, what does it mean? TDK, that's what it says. Well, your name is letters.
Oh, Flula was so good.
Flula's the man. That was my only disappointment, and it was just because for Flula's sake. Flula Borg is so fucking funny. I love him. All you women love it. All you American girls love accents. Who am I supposed to carry it to?
Okay, speaking of Harley, this is Margot Robbie's third appearance on screen, and I think by now it's clear as day she was born to play this character.
She was. It's out of control how well she does this character. And how good she is at pulling off random crap. James Gunn was on, I want to say it was Jimmy Kimmel Live. And James Gunn also looks like he's 70 now.
That's what happened when he stopped dyeing his hair.
When he stopped dyeing his hair. I never realized he was dyeing his hair or that he was doing whatever, but man, he pulls it off. He looks awesome. Which John Cena showed up to the show in the full Peacemaker outfit. Every bit of press he's done, he's worn that outfit, and I think it's the best thing ever. But they were talking about the scene in Harley and Coto Martiz after she gets captured and they're electric prodding her, that she has to get the key off of the dude and then pick the lock. Margot Robbie actually did it.
That's commitment right there.
That's commitment, and she did it in one take.
Okay, that's impressive.
And James Gunn got so fucking pissed because he's like, that is one of the shots I will be the most irritated at myself for the rest of my entire life. Because when she gets the thing and she goes up, the ruffles on her jacket or her dress thing cover her face, and he's like, I know there's going to be some douchebag out there that goes, they covered your face so you won't know it was a stunt double. He's like, I wanted to run in so fast and just clip that shit with a pair of scissors. She really did that. He was so mad. And I'm like, I understand, but it's impressive. And just get her scene. Her scene when she's killing people in that hallway and the flowers are flying all over the place.
I love it.
That is magical, but also in a weird way, James Gunn almost made it seem like that was canonically happening. And I talked to this with my roommate because when she leaves the hallway and we're no longer in her scene, the fucking flowers are still floating in the hallway. So it makes it seem like, oh, that shit actually happened. Or when she shoots that dude, it's just like, I have a real red flag with dating guys, and if it shows up, I would say I would do the right thing and I would kill them immediately.
Harley is just the best.
Oh my gosh. But yeah.
You know, something else I liked about this movie is the peanut gallery.
The workers.
In At Argus.
You, that's why I want him to make a trilogy of these films, because those people were just great. They were like all their lines were just well put together. The scene where they're betting on who's gonna die.
It kind of reminded me of have you ever seen Cabin in the Woods?
No, I want to, and I have no reason to not have done it, but all the guys working behind the scenes watching them when they're in it, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, when they're first introduced, like basically creating a Deadpool, I like the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, this is totally Cabin in the Woods.
Yep. It's like that's what they would do. The best part is he's making a joke out of a situation that would 100% happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that situation every day watching these dudes go out in the field and they're like, Waller's gonna kill one of them, like, screw it, we're gonna make side bets. What's Waller gonna do? Fire us? But, yeah, it was and the worst part about, like, I wish that maybe we could have held off one of the plot lines until later, because when you got to see the killing contest between Bloodsport and Peacemaker, that was one of the best points in the whole film. Just like the little spots where they're just looking at each other dead in the eyes. Peacemaker takes out the axe and just starts chopping that guy into sleep and then pegs it in his head.
So many little scenes, like little interactions between everyone on the team is honestly what made the whole thing worth it.
Exactly. And I didn't think you were going to get heartfelt moments and stuff like that. And you'll get to take it away with freaking Taika Waititi in this movie, somehow getting an emotional beat out of Ratcatcher.
Yep.
But, yeah, like Bloodsport obviously was really good. And then, like, dude, the genuine uncomfortableness of every time that Polka Dot Man's mom showed up.
How many times it happened? Like 3 different times.
Okay, so let me think. The scene when he first brings it up.
Yep. And the second scene is the one in the club.
The one in the club, and then when he tells him Starro's his mom. But like the first one, when King Shark is his mom. or the one where my roommate really got it was the second one, where like his mom is like twerking on him and he's having a time of his life. I'm just like, this is so weird. Why are we watching this? It's like, it's James Gunn. You gotta let it run, man.
And this is why I said in my written review that your mileage really may vary depending on like how restrained or unrestrained you like your James Gunn.
Yeah.
I brought up the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy films because in the first one, you know, while it is more of his vision than like at that time the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's still, you know, Kevin Feige produces these with like an iron fist. Mm-hmm. A loving iron fist, but an iron fist nonetheless.
Yeah.
And in volume 2, Gunn gets to be a little bit more himself. And I believe for that one, he wrote and directed the film.
I believe
so. That's where a little bit more of his voice comes in. With this movie, there's almost no producer oversight. It's like, this is the full Gunn.
Yeah. And they're gonna, now that he's coming back for that 3rd Guardians movie, it's gonna be weird to see how much reach he has and how much he wants to do, because if this does as well as what I think this is going to do, people are going to be like, wow, he got to be really weird and it was really good. And he basically did whatever he wanted and it didn't fail. It's like what he wants to do with the Guardians. He just went off and did with the Suicide Squad. And like, man, part of me wants to see what an R-rated Guardians movie looks like.
And that'll be something.
And not for just like violence or sex or whatever. I want to see what different characters he would pull out if he was able to do an R-rated movie.
Now, speaking of the R rating, we need to get back to Peacemaker for a second. So two questions. One, what did you think of I guess the twist of Peacemaker being a kind of sort of villain, or at least being more of Amanda Waller's whipping boy than Rick Flag?
In the sense of Amanda Waller, it makes perfect sense to me because that's how Amanda Waller is. She lied to the leader of the team and had her own intentions because Amanda Waller is a treacherous two-headed snake, and she always has been.
Naturally.
And if you're going to have that with anybody, if you're going to drive home that this dude wants peace no matter what in his life, it's the perfect guy to do it.
And also it led to that great fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
But my second question is, since apparently now it is confirmed that the Peacemaker HBO Max series is a follow-up to the Suicide Squad, how the hell do you build a series around this character?
I don't know. But I think it might be maybe him redeeming himself. If maybe he thinks that maybe his want for peace was too much. Because James said that the series is going to be a lot more quieter than the Suicide Squad was.
Okay, that's interesting.
But we'll see. I don't know.
And what's interesting is that this will be the first series that basically takes place within the DCEU.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad was the thing where it made me went, for the love of God, if y'all could get your heads out of your asses for 2 minutes and realize the amount of gold that is just sitting in separate piles on your giant table and go, it'd be really fucking cool if that character was able to do something that led to a meeting that character. Or we could set up something that led to that instead of just, I don't know, maybe just remake another version of that movie that nobody liked. I don't care what you want to do. Sure. I mean, I like that they're slightly disconnected, but it's just to the point of where they're just like, yeah, man, our movies are going to keep going and we're going to reference and never fully say they're not connected. But also we might want to do that someday. But also we're just like, what they say they might want, that one? Yeah, I'll think about it. Do something. I don't know what, but make a statement one way or the other, man.
I mean, as long as we eventually get a Man of Steel 2, or just literally just call it Superman.
I honestly think we're going to get a reboot before we get a Man of Steel 2.
At this point, I just want something.
Oh, so do I. At this point, I want them to know what they want, because it's to the point of where we have 2 different Batmen. We have 3, actually.
Yep.
Because of Flashpoint. And coming from a guy who is a big Batman fan, I would like it if other people got a shot.
Yeah.
We don't need 4 to 5 Batman going at once. Give or take 2 of them are in the same movie. I get that. But you had a really good Batman, and then you went, now he's mingled in Snyder's stuff that we don't like to comment on actually existing. And Anyway. Yeah, they'll do what they need to do, and it's James Gunn writing and directing it again. So it's going to be good. And James Gunn has also said that he might only ever want to make TV shows from now on because of how much fun he had making the Peacemaker TV show. So
that is very promising.
That is promising, but it also scares me because that's the possibility of never getting a movie like Suicide Squad ever again.
Okay, we have some more stuff to talk about, including the Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi.
I like how he basically didn't even do anything to make him seem like the Thinker outside of, I did some stuff and also I have a bunch of rods shoved into my head.
Yeah, for fans of The Flash, this isn't DeVoe, it's Dr. Greaves?
Greaves, yes, it's Greaves. It's like that looks like it hurts. At all points, I was looking at him. I'm like, that looks like that should be so painful.
Gaius Greaves.
Gaius Greaves.
I had to make sure I had that right.
Yeah, and Mio, that entire, I was just like, he's also in a lot less of the movie than I was expecting him to be.
To be honest, I'm not even sure like how he was supposed to how he was supposed to be in the film, because in the trailers it made it seem like, actually that's the thing, in the trailers, like they don't really explain what his role is. It just shows like Rick, Bloodsport, and Harley just like circling around him, telling him the rules.
I am pacing back and forth. God damn it, Harley. But yeah, that was weird. Then it was like in one of them, I was really shocked that in one of the trailers they actually made it apparent that Starro was there.
Just the fact that we get Starro in a Suicide Squad movie is mind-blowing enough.
I was yeah, and then I was looking at my roommate, I'm like, hey, guess what that thing is? He's like, just, is it a big thing? I'm like, that's the first thing the Justice League ever fights.
Yep.
Ever. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And it's getting fought by the Suicide Squad. Yikes.
It's something that nobody thought was possible.
No, and it's one of those things where they're obviously not sure of what they'd want to do in a Suicide Squad film anymore, because that's a big one to give to this, and I mean a Justice League film, because that's a big old boy to hand over to the Suicide Squad to take care of in a matter of about 20 minutes.
Okay, so that's the other thing I want to ask. Like, so there have been 2 live-action Suicide Squad iterations, and Task Force X has been in comics and animation for forever.
Oh yeah.
Why is it that for the movies they have the team going up against like cosmic and supernatural beings, where before this film, my favorite version was the 2014 animated film Assault on Arkham, where it was very clearly the Joker was the villain.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think, and this is my opinion on the matter, I think that they don't think it would be cinematic enough.
That's what I'm thinking, and I was also kind of thinking, like, on the car ride home, what if Suicide Squad was like, what if we never got a Suicide Squad movie and it was just instead like a 6 to 12 episode miniseries, kind of like the DC version of MASH or like the Dirty Dozen.
I would be very okay with that. I'd be very, very okay with that. Get some randos in there that they got to take out, like freaking KG Beast or other people among those levels, and just, and then every now and then you throw in someone like that. I mean, obviously not like freaking Starro, but like some big bad that would be just stupid. I mean, just stupid. Like they get in their hands and then they're like, Waller doesn't tell them what they're doing the entire time until they get there. And then, I don't know, it's like the Furies for some freaking reason are here. I don't know. But yeah, I
think really that's my one gripe with putting the Suicide Squad on the big screens, that they it's like almost like by obligation they have to go up against a bigger threat.
Yeah, that is true. because like
there's no reason they can't like go up against, I don't know, like a terrorist organization in Kondak, or like the 100 gang, or
or Intergang or something like that. And
yeah.
I think what the problem would be is that in a movie, and I think it was almost, I don't know if Gunn had Starro in mind and then built a team around what that could kill him. Because, like, when you get to a point of where you have, like, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, and then how, like, over the top powerful they showed off Polka Dot Man to be, and then Ratcatcher, and then just, like, the people and how they're set, it was almost just like, if we gave them a normal human enemy, they could take them out really quick. I think they'd have to be a lot more careful. And like the top seed that they could have had was like Bloodsport or Peacemaker. You have to be a lot more careful, I think, if you're going to do a movie wise, if you're going to have them be someone that's like they're going to fight Deathstroke.
When you put it that way, it makes more sense to like figure out your villain first, and then work backwards to
like
who's
power scale.
Yeah.
It's definitely doable. And I think that could be cool because like I said, my favorite parts were them taking out that freaking the Rebel Peacemakers base there, and they were just showing off killing people. Like that was not that expensive of a thing to make, and it was one of the best parts. And obviously there's other parts I really liked, like even little minor scenes. Like you could have cool moments like King Shark. Also, before we don't mention it, James Gunn might be one of the best ever for music selection in a movie ever.
Yeah, he's up there.
Because like right away, I was watching this and I'm thinking back to myself, like watching the original Suicide Squad film, and I'm like, they're randomly throwing in "Without Me" by Eminem while they're getting their freaking gear and shit on, and then like, okay, we're gonna probably see Bell Rev at the beginning of this movie. What is the song that's gonna play? And then Folsom Prison starts playing. I'm just like, all right, we're good. I'm fine. But like, just the simple tracks. Like, I don't know what the name of that track was, but the name of that track that is playing while King Shark is in that aquarium is so good. It's like really weird and spooky, and it's got weird, like, I don't know if it's actual words being said in the background. He's just running around looking at these little fish, and it was one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
It's a weirdly wholesome scene because King Shark has said like throughout the film, I have no friends. And then he meets like, well, what he doesn't know are a bunch of blood-sucking piranhas.
Yeah. No but friends. I think my favorite scene with Peacemaker, this is gonna sound like when I was imitating that Ava and their freaking end of Ava Kelly review. When Harley or when Ratcatcher and Bloodsport walk off, he's like, "Where you go, friend?" It's like, I was like, yes!
Wait, I just realized an edit that I want to see sometime in the future is the voice of Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
You're not far off. That is close to the cadence of what he was pulling off. Oh man. Just wait for the CinemaSins video. He might do it. But yeah, that's another thing that I want to, before I get too much away, that I'm starting to realize that I appreciate more than action, than score, than anything. And it kind of shows that James is one of the people that understands this more than anything. Your movie could have the best cast. Your movie could have the best CGI budget. Your movie could have the best score. It could have the best director. And have whatever. I'm not going to give a shit about your movie if the character work isn't good.
I agree. You know, I have liked movies for more abstract reasons before. You know, sometimes I'm just really into the general vibe a movie has, or I just really like the music or the cinematography. But what really makes a great movie is character development.
Yep.
And when it comes to selling both the the heart and the humor, I think James Gunn finds a really nice balance. And I know some people who like prefer the first Guardians think 2 goes a little bit too far with its humor, like too many jokes miss rather than hit.
Yeah.
I really like that movie because when the emotional scenes hit, they hit hard.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
and every time I hear like Cat Stevens father and son at like during that last scene, that like the tears just keep flowing.
Oh yeah, that I went from like thinking Yondu was cool in the first movie to him being my favorite character in all the Guardians movies. Like people that know more about me and others things like that realize how much that means to me, and like that came out of nowhere and it worked. It didn't feel forced. It would just felt like something you hadn't been made aware of, but you could feel it. And the best moment in that whole thing isn't like, I shouldn't say it's the best moment. Obviously, the "he ain't your father" boy was the part where he's gliding down, and like everyone's favorite part of that is when he jokes and says, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." But like my favorite point of that is like, huh, "You look like Mary Poppins," and then he says, "Was he cool?" And then Peter pauses for a moment. He goes, "You're damn right he was." Where he's just like, "No, this dude's been my dad the whole time, and he's the coolest guy that I know." I'm just like, that is, and it doesn't get played up as some big thing. It's just something that Peter says, and I'm like, that's the best. It just is.
And you said we'd go back to Taika Waititi as the original Ratcatcher, and yep. Fun fact about this: when this film was shooting, Taika was supposed to be directing a live action version of Akira, but that fell through. So he's like, what the hell? I'll join the Suicide Squad.
Yep. I also read a thing where James wouldn't admit who it was, but originally Taika was not Ratcatcher 1. Originally, Taika was one of the characters that dies on the beach.
Huh.
But he said he would not reveal who it was, but he said that originally Taika died on the beach, and he was one of the characters that dies on the beach, and he was not Ratcatcher 1. I don't know who that would have been, but part of me thinks it was Weasel.
It's possible, although I'm pretty sure Sean Gunn was Weasel.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure it was Weasel. But that's where it gets me to where he might have been Weasel, because you just informed me and made me aware that Sean Gunn was Calendar Man. That's the only thing that makes me think everyone else was there, unless like Taika would have been Blackguard.
Yeah, maybe.
Because everybody else seemed pretty fit. Because I don't see Taika being Javelin, and I don't think he would have been Savant, and I don't think he would have been TDK.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think ultimately I think he made the right choice to play Ratcatcher.
Absolutely, I never,
because he had like the crazy hair, and he just kind of has a warm sort of genuine persona.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you would have told me at the beginning of that movie that I would have been actually genuinely heartfelt when I see Ratcatcher 1 or Ratcatcher 2 crying, thinking about her dad as she's using rats to save the planet. I'm like, James, how do you do this? Like, how? How? And then he had basically the ending moment of father and son at the end of Guardians with Bloodsport and fucking Sebastian in the plane. Instead of Peter Quill holding Groot, it's Bloodsport and Sebastian. I'm like, this shouldn't be as sweet as a moment as it is.
Character development. You love to see it.
You love to see it. Oh man. And you, speaking of jokes not landing, I will tell you, probably the only joke that I think was a bit overdone in certain spots was the Milton thing.
Um, it was the Milton thing and the the island full of dicks. That
I love that one, but I can see why someone didn't like it.
I mean, I think I get why, like, probably on paper it worked, and like all credit to John Cena, he made that scene work. But
Yes.
I think it's one of the two jokes that like just went too far.
Yeah. I that one, maybe if they would have cut one or two lines short, if he would have just said his and they wouldn't have continued it, I think it would have been okay. If for at least most people. And then the Milton thing, I think if it would have been only about half of what they did when they were in the office, it'd have been perfect. If like
Agreed.
who was Milton? And all of a sudden he has a big outburst, and all of a sudden they're both like, oh, it was him. Like if they would each would have said their one line and then cut on, but then when she comes back and she calls Bloodsport Milton, I was just like,
Nope, too far.
nope, sorry, I wasn't laughing at that. I'm like, that's a bit of a joke. I understand Harley's a dunce, but yeah. And by the way, were you also the one that was just waiting for the giant massive object Harley was gonna have to hurl that javelin into?
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Like
Yeah.
once she said like, oh, now I know what the javelin is meant for. I was like, oh, okay, no, this was perfect, and this is why I think when Gunn wrote this, he was working backwards. Like, I established the villain first, then I like I go through how he's defeated.
Yep. And that might be one of the most, in my opinion, worst ways to go a DC villain's ever got. When you actually sit and think of how that must have felt like.
Oh God.
The thousands of rats just getting inside your eyeball and then chewing the innards of your brain apart.
That just like, I get heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
Yeah, I had a small mice issue like 2 winters ago when I found out that part of my garage had to get redone and I had to take care of them. So it was only like 3 or 4 mice, so it wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. But oh, that just to be, I was just like, that is but I wasn't expecting to be creeped out in this movie as much as I was either. That scene when you get into where Starro's being held, and you see that one guy that is like halved.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see under the little starlings that they actually fully burrowed into their face and like ate their skull away.
Yep.
Because they pull that one off and it's got the thing. I'm like, James wanted that, like, and that's one of those things when I respect the movie wants to be rated R outside of the fact that they could just be like, I'm going to get really violent and do whatever. I'm like, no, James wanted to be rated R because he wanted to make a rated R movie.
People forget that, like, James Gunn's background is in, you know, the Trauma films, and that sort of, you know, he was more well known for horror and offbeat comedy than he was like mainstream blockbusters.
It is. And like one of my favorite, might be my favorite movie of his until this, I have to decide, is Slither. And like when he's doing Slither and you open up that barn door and you see that girl, it's just bloated up and there's like, fuck you, bitch, I'm starving. She's like, bro, like, oh, that's so gross. But yeah, and I also let me ask, do you think that we were actually going to get like some people freed at the end of this movie?
Yes and no. It's kind of a like a, you know, action / superhero movie cliche where like you kill the boss and then all of their minions like collapse, or like it's like basically the equivalent of like turning the power off and everyone goes back to normal.
No, I mean the squad.
Oh, you mean like
that they got free of Waller. Technically, he got the blackmail on her. He's like, "You're setting us free, and we're going home."
Again, yes and no. At the end of the original movie, you know, while they weren't free, they were rewarded for the mission. But in this movie, it's different because they went completely off script and like, no, we're going to save the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Also, speaking of the peanut gallery, I love the way Waller is just like taken out.
Oh yeah. I'm just like, okay, because what would have really pissed me off if all of a sudden Amanda Waller had a sense of consciousness, because that is one thing I appreciate, that is her character just does not care whatsoever. And the entire time, that one guy, I don't even know if he ever even got a name. So it's just like, you were joking that you were gonna kill his kid, right? Like that was just a little funny, haha, right? No, I'd kill her if I need to. Then they crack him over the head, and then all of them were like, "Yeah, let's go." Dale, get back on the satellite, you fucking dickhead!
Honestly, I would love like a full office sitcom of like these
Powers?
Argus where
like what Powers was supposed to be, where it was just like regular people among everything.
Yeah, like it's like Powers, but specifically set at Argus.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. That was one of my like ideas. I'm like, you have the regular people. They're not like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or it's just like Howard Men. I'm like, no, these are regular people dealing with regular problems. I was just like, that would be so cool.
Maybe we'll see more of them in the Peacemaker series.
That would be cool. They probably will, because according to that end credit scene, they pretty much act like they're going to be his babysitters.
It feels like it.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's just, I don't know. DC is going to be really weird once they get that show over, because that'll be HBO Max, depending on how well that thing does. Either that is going to be the catalyst for them going, continued adventures of some of these characters is something that's cool. Maybe we should actually get our heads out of our asses and connect some stuff or do whatever. Or what I think is going to happen and go, where's some other like low budget people we could just like throw into something to see if it works? Sure. Like, I don't know.
To be fair, the other kind of sort of connected series is that Gotham PD series attached to the Batman.
It's attached to the Batman, but it isn't attached to anything else.
Yeah, that's the problem with being a DC fan. Like, at least with the MCU, they mostly got their shit together.
They mostly do, and the worst part is with DC, in my opinion, sometimes more than Marvel. Well, I guess just mainly in the Batline line of things, there's a lot of just cheap to produce superheroes. You could have an entire TV show based on just the Bat family, and outside of the gadgets, it'd be pretty inexpensive. But they just aren't going to do it. They could, and I've said this for a long time, I want this so bad, and my buddy Morgan agrees with me. I've wanted so bad, they could have either done it on the CW or they could do it on HBO Max. I want a Question TV show starring Misha Collins as the Question.
Okay, this is one of the reasons why I want the Peacemaker to be a success, because, you know, give it like 8 episodes and maybe hand it off to Cary Fukunaga. You know, for those who don't know, he did the first season of True Detective, and that's basically the vibe that I want for a Question series.
Absolutely. And you could throw random people in there, or please my soul, if any of you at HBO Max or Warner were a fan of Justice League and you want to reintroduce that unbelievably kooky but yet so endearing relationship between the Question and Huntress, where they were borderline having phone sex in a cartoon, please do it. There's a point in there, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Hey, so what are you wearing? Purple suit or white shirt. Orange socks. You're really bad at this. I don't understand. But yeah, anyway, back to the actual Suicide Squad film. Sorry, we got on a big tangent there. We're just really excited at what you could do if if Warner Brothers got their heads out of their asses. I want there to be more of these films.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And it's shown that you could get this big old cast together, kill 90% of them, and still make a good movie. So you could not spend a lot on getting people in there and still get some unknowns in there. Like, they, for no reason in one of these movies, because they don't care about continuity, just hoy people in there like Arsenal or like somebody, just give a reason for why they're in jail. Freaking, gosh dang it. He looks like Red Hood, but he's not.
Grifter,
thank you. Like, just random people like that. Just get them in there. Gosh dang it. Or like Tigress. You could have her in there for whatever reason. They had Enchantress in the Suicide Squad, if I'm not mistaken, quite recently. And then I think Ultraman was in one of them.
the Suicide Squad lineup is bizarre, to say the least.
One of the points where I'm just like, you're not Suicide Squad anymore if you get someone that's OP, because you just send in that person. There needs to be a reason you have a squad. But yeah, put down in the comments if you watch this, who would you want your ideal Suicide Squad lineup to be?
You want to hear some random members from the past?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we mentioned that Enchantress actually was in the John Ostrander run.
Yep.
Bronze Tiger, obviously.
Yep. Be perfect.
Nemesis.
I'm blanking. That sounds so familiar. Why am I blanking? Oh, wow. Come on. Why am I blanking so bad?
I think his name is Thomas Andrew Tresser.
I can't think of what it is, but anyway, yeah, go on.
He was in the Task Force X episode of Justice League Unlimited.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Penguin was apparently a member at one point.
Okay.
Black Orchid. Kronos. Javelin,
of course.
Psy.
Yep.
Count Vertigo.
Okay, that one's a little bit still powerful, but still down there. Okay.
Poison Ivy.
Yep.
Adam.
Okay.
Not Ray Palmer, but Adam Cray.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Firehawk. Silver Swan. Sportsmaster.
Yep.
And the writer, Grant Morrison in universe was a member.
Oh, of course, freaking Morrison. Gosh dang it.
And that's just like the 87 comic.
Yeah.
That, like, the Suicide Squad has had a very weird lineup over the years.
Yeah, and there's the best part about it, though, and kind of the worst part about it sometimes, is that there's no rule that you need to abide to be a Suicide Squad member. You just need to have done a thing at some point, and now Argus got a hold of you.
I think, like, the one, not even a hard rule, just kind of an observation, is that most of these members are, like, you know, they're villains, but they're not like Dark Side level.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, it's something like that where they can't just take out a whole horde by themselves. Like, one I would actually like, and it would gain credence, and I think a really cool thing if you actually had them go up against Deathstroke is Ravager.
Ooh,
I would really like that. Ravager, or they ended up going against Jericho, which I guess would still be a pretty higher up guy, but yeah. There's just some really cool ones that they could put in there that they don't need a big budget for that could, like we said, do a lower one. But yeah, you and me will both agree we really like this movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we were able to go an hour and, tangent aside, we had a lot of material to get through.
And we still haven't gotten through all of the great lines and all of the great moments. The club scene alone, where they actually had genuine good camaraderie when they were getting the drinks that felt less forced than some of the other scenes in the last Suicide Squad film. Nothing in the film seemed forced whatsoever.
Again, like a few jokes that like don't land is one thing, but as far as the team just kind of playing off each other, that all felt genuine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, it's just, I said it when I got out of the theater and I posted on my Facebook. I'm like, give James Gunn whatever he wants and do it now, yesterday. I don't care. Let him direct what he wants to do. Make it something stupid.
Well, Walter Hamada has said that like James Gunn will be back.
James Gunn will be back. You wonder what I actually liked? I just thought of it now. What I would like to see James Gunn do is a Transformers movie.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine the random batshit never heard of on screen Transformers that dude would just into something?
Like the one limitation for like, a James Gunn Transformers movie would be the budget.
Yeah,
because CGI is expensive, and knowing him, he's gonna want like he's basically gonna want like the feature film version of the Cybertron opening from Bumblebee.
He would, but I have an idea. I understand. I don't think he's ever done one. But what if they had him make an animated movie?
Yes. I mean, generally, I want more directors to play in that sandbox, and I'm really bummed that Taika's Flash Gordon movie went from animated to live action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be thrilled to see like what he does in the other medium.
Yeah. It'd be, oh boy, just anything that has obscure randomness that even you could just do. Like if James Gunn was handed an entire season of Marvel What If to do whatever the hell he wanted.
Oh my, he would he would go like as far like off the beaten path as he can.
I guess I would guarantee you immediately he would just go, okay, so I need you to write down in this book everything I'm not allowed to do. Fill it completely so I won't ask questions. But yeah, and it'd be great. Just I think Mike and me both agree, go watch the movie. It's off the charts good. But yeah, any last statements?
This won't be the last time I talk about this movie, because over on Renegade Pop Culture, we're also doing a special DC celebration episode of Capes, and yeah, there will be more to say about this, the past, present, and future of the DC universe. So I'm just excited to gush about this again.
Oh yeah. I want to go see it again tomorrow. Probably going to. All right, Mike, where can they reach you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my letterbox at letterbox.com/CoachK42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups, just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need escape? So do we.
Yes, and you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. I am actively back to streaming again, and now you cannot see it below me. But I got my N64 in streaming condition, so I'm actively ready to do more stuff that I wanted to do. So I'm going to continue Mass Effect on Monday. I'm going to get a test in to make sure everything is good to go, and then I'll be doing Donkey Kong 64 on Wednesday. And I still have to decide if I'm doing Jedi Fallen Order on. We're so close.
All right, go ahead.
And I still have to decide if we're going to be doing Jedi Fallen Order on Friday. Probably will. We have to see because the Ghost of Tsushima DLC is coming up, and depending on, I don't want to get too far tugged into a game because I want to play that live. So yeah, we will see you guys next time, most likely for Free Guy.
Most likely.
Most likely. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.
Bye.